Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I came across this article this morning. This is Israel 365 News. First in 2,000 years, silver temple trumpets sounded on Temple Mount. Now, this caught my attention because I have a spreadsheet. It's called Signs Jewish Specific. You can access my spreadsheets anytime. The link is in the description box below. I'm keeping track of things that have happened for the first time in 2,000 years on this spreadsheet, as well as other things, other signs that Jews may view as signs for the coming of Messiah, which I believe the Lord is working with the Jews, preparing them for the second coming, even though they think that it's going to be Messiah for the first time. So among those signs, and I can't believe I haven't put them on here until now, among those signs are these ones that are things that haven't happened for 2,000 years. And I want to do a review of all these because it's been a while since I've talked about some of them. If you look at column F, I've color-coded the things that haven't happened in 2,000 years with green. So we have this one that we're going to talk about first, this new article. And then on top of that, I have 4 other, 4 other things that haven't happened in 2,000 years. And don't confuse this spreadsheet with this one. This one is called Judaism Temple Preparation, where I'm keeping this timeline of different things that the Temple Institute and others have done to prepare for the Third Temple. They're very serious about it, and they've taken very practical, concrete steps to prepare for the Third Temple. So you can check that out as well. But we're going to be focusing on this one, Signs Jewish Specific. Now, just really quick, I support Israel 365 News. I had a video that went viral that drove a lot of traffic to their website. And they reached out to me. They set me up with Rabbi Gerfine, which I talked to him for a long time, and I've done videos. You can go to my playlist called Special Guests and see the interviews that I've done with him. And I've talked to others with them. If you go to the description box of any video, there's this portion right here for charities, and 2 of them are for Israel 365. The first one has to do with the war that's going on right now. You can donate to them, and I would encourage you to do so. Donations will go to help families that have been displaced by the war. It helps injured IDF, soldiers, service members. And then also it assists families of fallen soldiers and service members. So if you can, donate to that. And then there's another one for, his name is Meir Tamari. He was killed at the age of 32, left behind a widow, 2 children, and she was pregnant at the time. So if you can support them, that would be great. It's in the description box below. Okay, so let's take a look at this. First time in 2,000 years, silver temple trumpets sounded on Temple Mount. And here's a screenshot of them blowing the silver trumpets. There's a video of it on YouTube. And let's just go ahead and read it. I don't know how I missed this because I check their website pretty frequently. On Tisha B'Av, the day commemorating the destruction of the Jewish temples in Jerusalem, as well as other Jewish tragedies, Josh Wander brought his silver trumpets specially made for use in the temple to the Makama building. Let's take a look at that really quick. Excuse me. First of all, I think it's these trumpets right here. These are among the instruments and vessels that have been created by the Temple Institute for the Third Temple. So they have the silver trumpets. It says here, silver trumpets are sounded in the Holy Temple by the Kohanim, which are the priests, during the daily Tamid offerings and to herald the arrival of the Shabbat, or Sabbath, Rosh Chodesh, new moon, or like the new month, it means head of the month, and the festival of Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, Passover, and Pentecost, as well as other occasions. Okay, so you have this. And then the building that they're doing this from, I had to look into that. Thankfully, there's this article from Yeshiva World News talking about a stone that fell from this building right here, the Makama building in blue. And I recognized this entrance right here because this is the western wall. Okay. And there's like this like ground level to this building. It's kind of like a tunnel when you go inside of it. I've watched video tours. And if we look at like a 360 image of it, so here's the western wall, the kotel, and then there's that entrance that we were talking about. So I believe this right here, this is the building that we're talking about that they blew the silver trumpets from. So you can see how close that is to the Temple Mount. And I guess the way that Israel 365 is portraying it is that it's on the Temple Mount because this part right here kind of like juts out over the Temple Mount. If we look at the satellite, okay, so here's the Temple Mount right here, right? And where my mouse is, this is the western wall. And then this building right here, it's kind of hard to tell because there's a lot of stuff going on the roofs of these buildings, but it's basically right here. Okay. Right here. So it is virtually right there. And it looks like these are like pillars. So when Israel 365 says that this building juts out over the Temple Mount, it does look like it's literally like over the Temple Mount. So anyway, for them, it's significant. Okay, so this building, built about 700 years ago, is currently used as a border police station. The building faces the Western Wall Plaza, but juts out over the Temple Mount. Wander made the trumpets to fulfill the commandment of Chatzotzrot. Wander's website explains that according to the Rambam, that's like an acronym and a nickname for Maimonides, a Jewish sage from like the Middle Ages. This is the biblical commandment to blow the silver trumpets in times of war and trouble for the Jewish people. Okay, so you have silver trumpets that have a variety of purposes, and there's different times when they're blown. But one of those times is for times of war. And this is being done for the first time in 2,000 years. And it's like right over or on top of the Temple Mount, right next to the Western Wall. So, yeah, it's kind of a big thing as far as like Jews would be concerned. And not all Jews. There's different types of Jews, obviously. Some are more, well, I mean, you have Orthodox and then you have like the other end of the spectrum. But for, a certain amount of them, this is kind of a big deal. It's the first time in 2,000 years. You guys, these are signs of the times. I think both for the Jews and for us because of what it means to them. All right, continuing. The trumpets were blown at a prayer service held twice a year and overseen by Rabbi Rami Goren, the son of Rabbi Shlomo Goren, who served as the first head of the military rabbinate of the IDF. Rabbi Shlomo Goren oversaw the IDF victory in the 1967 Six-Day War that brought the Temple Mount under Israeli sovereignty. After exhaustive research and under strict rabbinic supervision, Josh Wander, a resident of the Mount of Olives, has recreated the silver trumpets for Solomon's Temple. Josh blew these trumpets at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference in Tennessee at CPAC in Washington, D.C., both attended by Donald Trump, which that's kind of interesting, right? As mandated by the Bible, Josh blew the trumpets for the IDF troops as they went out to war against Hamas in Gaza. Okay, so I find this very interesting. Now, these are the trumpets, like when you read in the Bible, there's like two types of trumpets. One is the shofar, which is like a ram's horn. And then you have these, which we would typically think of as trumpets. It's the two silver trumpets for the temple. And it's this type of trumpet that is kind of like the same type of trumpet that the angel Moroni blows. These statues of the angel Moroni on top of our temples. There's been a lot going on with trumpets. I'm not going to go over all that here, but I just want to point out that we had a really interesting trumpet incident in 2020 when the angel Moroni statue of the Salt Lake Temple dropped his trumpet due to an earthquake, which again, I didn't know was even possible. And what happened was, following this, that's when missionaries were called home from their missions. And for the next 2 years, because of the pandemic, the warning call, of the trumpet, the taking the gospel to the world was hindered. It didn't go forth at the same pace that it did before for about 2 years. So I feel like this was a sign. But thankfully, I think it was earlier this year. Finally, the angel Moroni is back on top of the Salt Lake Temple with the trumpet in hand. So it's interesting stuff. Once again, here it is. These are the trumpets that the Temple Institute has ready to go, I guess, for whenever the third temple is constructed, if that's how things go, if like they're the ones that constructed and whatever. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's look at these other events that are the first of their kind in 2,000 years. So the next most recent one, this was the 15th of October, 2023. And let's just read it directly from the website. So again, this is Israel 365 News. For the first time in 2,000 years, priest blessing soldiers going to war. Again, like another war thing. So that's like two things having to do with war in a row that haven't happened in 2,000 years. I think there's something to this. I think it calls the mind of Jews to the significance of this war. That's what I think. I think that's why it's making news. That's why Israel 365 News is publishing this. If you don't know who Israel 365 News is, it's like a Jewish media company. And one of their goals is to connect with Christians, to garner support for Israel. So anyway, it's catching their attention. So here you have the Kohanim, which are the priests, and then they're part of the tribe of Levi. They're the descendants of Aaron. And then beyond them, you have the Levites, right? The entire tribe of Levi. Okay. When Israel was attacked 2 weeks ago, Saul Teplitsky leaped into action, trying to help Israel from his home in the Bronx. Like many others, he donated money to emergency efforts at resupplying Israel. But like so many others, he felt that whatever he did was simply not enough. On Sunday, 8 days after the horrific attack, Saul put out a WhatsApp message to his community calling on people to donate necessary items and received an overwhelming response. A young man in the community, the son of a friend, was traveling to Israel to serve in the IDF, and Saul, a Cohen, or a priest, decided that he wanted to give the young man a blessing before he went off to war. As the male descendants of biblical Aaron, Kohanim are mandated with blessing the nation of Israel. But this is usually limited to blessing the congregation of a synagogue. Saul felt that at this time of dire need, his priestly blessing would serve to protect the soldier. Saul hurried to the airport, and after a bit of searching, found the young man among a large pile of duffel bags full of donated equipment for his IDF unit, preparing to leave for Israel. Saul made his unusual request. "I am a Cohen," Saul said. "Can I give you a bracha, or blessing?" Saul asked. Saul placed his hands on the young man's head and gave him a heartfelt blessing. The young man's eyes filled with tears. So this is really interesting, especially to us as members of the church. This is how we give blessings, is by the laying on of hands, right? Something special was going on here. Again, the first time in 2,000 years. You guys, this war is not just any other war. Israel has had 3 other existential wars: the War of Independence, the Six-Day War, and the Yom Kippur War. But this war is definitely different. Interestingly, it took place, or it started, exactly 50 years and 1 day from the Yom Kippur War, which was also a war that started on a Jewish holy day. And it was also a surprise attack. I think this is different. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these signs. Okay, so next, let's go to the next one. This is the 16th of September, 2021. First time since Second Temple, rabbis convened to implement biblical law on Temple Mount. And there they are. It includes people from the Temple Institute, as well as other organizations. There's a YouTube video, but it's all in Hebrew. I watched it one time. I don't think that it was translated, so it's just all strictly in Hebrew. Okay, in a historic moment and under the protection of Israeli police, the rabbis of the Temple Mount gathered for talks on Tuesday on the Temple Mount. The rabbis of the Temple Mount will convene every month to discuss Torah law, its significance, and its implementation on the Temple Mount in our time. The assembly will discuss what biblical commandments became applicable in recent years. So that would include trying to figure out how to do the red heifer ceremony, something that still hasn't taken place, but I think that when and if it does, it's probably going to send shockwaves throughout the world. The reason why I say that is because both Hamas and Hezbollah have said that the red heifers is one reason why, like the red heifers that came to Israel in 2022, is one of the reasons why Hamas, started its war against Israel. Okay, so the first time in 2,000 years, I guess the first time that you have rabbis regularly meeting on the Temple Mount to discuss Jewish law. Okay, the next one, this is August 7th of 2021, so just a month before that. And this was actually one of the first videos that I did. I started my channel in August. It was August 9th of 2021, so just a couple days after this took place. Okay. Israel 365 News. Levite sings Song of Ascents on the stairs leading to Holy of Holies. And just so it's clear, it doesn't say it so clearly in this article, but when you go to the YouTube video that actually records him doing this, it talks about the fact that this is the first time in 2,000 years that this has happened. This is Yair Levi. He's a Levite. Okay, so he's not a Cohen, but he is of the tribe of Levi. Okay, echoing his ancestors from 2,000 years ago, a Levite musician ascended to the Temple Mount and in the face of Muslim opposition, sang the Song of Ascents in the same spot his ancestors sang the same verses in the service of the temple. Yair Levi, a popular Israeli singer, decided to literally take his prayerful music up a level. Levi, or Levi, as his name implies, they sometimes pronounce it Levi instead of Levi. I'll go with Levi. Levi, as his name implies, is a Levite, a descendant of the tribe of Levi, who served in the temples as musicians. On Sunday morning, Levi ascended to the Temple Mount in order to sing Psalm 121, which is part of the Song of Ascents the Levites used to sing on the steps of the temple. Levi's mission was risky, as the Waqf prohibits Jews from performing any religious rituals, including prayer or the recitation of psalms on our holiest site. But he did it, and I should have pulled this up, but Jews are becoming increasingly daring, going up to the Temple Mount and doing things up there. There's been recent news. Let's see, Jewish prayers on the Temple Mount. There's been some recent news. I've already covered this before, but here we go. Times of Israel. They're starting to become more and more blatant and daring with their prayers and other things. So before this point, so this was published September 8th. So just like within this last week. So before this point, Jews would go up and toward the Temple Mount. They have to go on like a guided tour or be escorted along this like circuit that they walk. And they've been allowed to kind of like silently pray. Like they're not supposed to, according to the Waqf, but the police have been allowing people to just kind of like silently pray, and they don't really do anything about it. But it seems like things have maybe reached a new stage where they're now doing this kind of like prostration type prayer, where they're fully, on the ground. So this has kind of caused a little bit of a stir. That's why it's making news. And to my knowledge, they haven't done this before. during this entire time that Muslims have controlled the Temple Mount. Not that I know of. So anyway, but before that, back in 2021, you had this Levite that sung at the Temple Mount, and this video shows it. And then the last one, this is just an interesting thing. Okay, I've done a video about this before as well. This is from Smithsonian Magazine. Tree grown from 2,000-year-old seed has reproduced. Okay, so a 2,000-year-old seed was successfully planted and grew, and the story is about how it is successfully reproduced. Okay, so get out the cigars. Methuselah, a Judean date palm tree that was grown from a 2,000-year-old seed, has become a papa plant. Methuselah sprouted back in 2005 when agriculture expert Soloway germinated his antique seed. It had been pulled from the remains of Masada, an ancient fortification perched on a rock plateau in southern Israel, and at the time no one could be sure that the plant would thrive. But he has, and his recent reproductive feat helps prove just how well he's doing. For a while, the Judean date palm was the sole representative of his kind. Methuselah's variety was reportedly wiped out around 500 AD. So that was just a little bit after the downfall of the Nephites in the Americas. But Soloway has continued to grow date palms from ancient seeds discovered in the region, and she tells National Geographic that she is, quote, trying to figure out how to plant an ancient date grove. So I think this is interesting because Masada, it's been said that Masada was kind of like the Jewish Alamo. It was a tragedy. It was essentially a group of zealots. You know that there were the different Jewish sects at the time. There were the Pharisees, the Sadducees, there were the Essenes, and then there were the Zealots. My understanding, if I remember right, is that Masada was kind of like a last stand for this group of Jewish zealots against the Romans. And it didn't go well. They died. So that's where this seed comes from. So it's from a time when the Jews were being expelled from the land, right? And they went into the diaspora all over the world. And now, all these years later, when Israel is being gathered back to the land, you have a seed from this time that has successfully grown and now reproduced. It's almost as if to symbolize the nation of Israel and the Jews returning to the land and growing again. I think that's really interesting. So yeah. So that's what I have. That's what's on my spreadsheet. There's probably some more that I've missed. So if you know of any other stories that have to do with Jews, with Israel, and something happening for the first time in 2,000 years, please let me know. But so far, in total, I have 5. The earliest one coming from 2015, and then that goes up until present. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.